violation could amount to overstepping its over, jurisdictions. Article 149 of the is the source of duties and powers of the Comptroller and Auditor General. Article 149 is the source of duties and powers of the Comptroller CAG. The Comptroller General shall perform such duties and exercise such powers in relation to the account of Union and State. Perform such duties and exercise his power states and of any other authority of a body. Any other authority of a body as may be prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament. Such powers of any other authority or a body as may be prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament. And shall perform such duties and exercise such powers in relations. Apart from the constitutional provision, the Comptroller General duties, powers, and the condition of service. Act 7156 provide the power of CAG. The Act determines the conditions of service of the CAG of India. The condition of the service. Condition of the CAG service. Describes duties and powers and for the matters connected therewith incidental there. CAG secures accountability of the executive to the Parliament. Secures accountability of the executive to the Parliament in the sphere of financial administration through audit reports. The CAG acts as agent of the Parliament. Therefore, it is only responsible to the Parliament. CAG. Any instruction can be judged by the character of its office bearer. In past few years, the CAG has been proactively involved in the propriety audit, looking into the wisdom, faithfulness, and economy of the government expenditure, commenting on the wastefulness and extravagance of such expenditure. CAG commenting wastefulness and extravagance of expenditure to extravagance is solely its discretion and thus is mainly times in activism beyond its legal mandate. The role of CAG is auditor of the government policy. Implementation is debatable. The Supreme Court has recently in the Colgate scams case said CAG is not merely an accountant. And the office of the CAG also said in statement that it has mandate to examine and scrutinize public policies. CAG has audited the implementation. Colgate scam. Government policy implementation is debatable. So as recently the Colgate scheme said, CAG is not merely an accountant, not only accountant, but also office of the CAG also said in a statement that it has mandate to examine and scrutinize public policies. CAG scrutinize public policies. Before some time, CAG has audited the implementation by performance of MGNREGA. This is strongly favoring the role of CAG as the auditor of the government policy, agent of the parliament. CAG is the, however, being the agent of parliament, responsible for public accounts committee, being the agent of parliament and responsible for public account committee, which has role of examining government policies. This action seems to come within the sphere of a public account committee and other parliamentary committee. It can be said that office of the CAG as constitutional office is highly respected in the country. Not only accountant, merely an accountant. Has been called Colgate said. Mr. CAG said which role being agent of parliament. This action seems to come within the sphere. It can be said that office of CAG constitutional office respected in the country, so it has followed the constitutional mandate and should remember the limit of office. CAG. Article 370. Actually, Article 370 Constitution in a constitution bearing marginal note temporary provision with respect to state of Jammu and Kashmir. Provisional context of Indian polity. Grant special status Jammu and Kashmir. Some salient features of Article 70. Separate state of laws for resident of state. Separate state of laws for resident of state. Indian Parliament cannot alter the boundaries of the state without concurrence of its legislative assembly. The Indian Parliament cannot alter the boundaries of the state. Change any changes in the boundary, name anything, cannot alter without currency, concurrence of the legislative assembly, without consent of the legislative assembly. Laws made by Parliament don't apply to Jammu Kashmir unless it legislative assembly incorporates them through legislative process. And parliamentary legislature or laws cannot be implemented in Jammu Kashmir without consent of without incorporated assembly incorporate them through legislative process incorporated through without unless legislative assembly Jammu Kashmir incorporates through legislative process. Central cannot declare emergency except only in the case of external aggression. Case of external aggression or war. No power to declare financial emergency under Article 316 Jammu and Kashmir. No power to declare no power financial emergency under Article 360 in Jammu Kashmir. The constitution is a byproduct of its times. At the time of independence, Jammu Kashmir was a lot of problems. People of the state felt deeply vulnerable and sense of insecurity about the future prevailed all over the state. Felt deeply vulnerable and sense of insecurity. And Nehru gave the gift of Article 370 to people of Kashmir. It was believed that once dust settles, peacefully integrated fully into the Indian Union. Once dust settles, it could be peacefully integrated to Indian Union. It is important to note here that Article 1 of the Indian Constitution declares 1. Union of the state and not a confederation. India is a union of state, not a federation. Actually, in recent judgment, 12th October 2015, High Court of Jammu Kashmir ruled that Article 370 has assumed a place of permanence in the Indian Constitution. And feature of a beyond amendment. Feature is repeal or abrogation. Feature is beyond amendment. Feature is beyond. This is a result of functioning of Indian polity. This is a result of a functioning of Indian polity. Political pundit expert view the positioning different. According to expert, Article 370 can be abrogated if only if Constitutional Assembly passes a resolution. Constitutional Assembly recommending the President to revoke Article 370. This is complex. Article 370 has assumed a place of permanence in the Indian Constitution. The future is beyond amendment. Repeal or abrogation Constitution. The result of functioning of Indian polity. And the expert view the position differently. Expert Article 70 can be abrogated if he and only if he Constitutional Assembly passes a resolution recommending the President to revoke Article 70. This is complex as first the last assembly was dissolved in 15 August 1957. It was dissolved on 15 August 1957. Present looking at the prevailing conditions, Kashmir formation of a new constitutional assembly looks a distant dream.